Warahmatullahi Taala Wabarakatuh. We are now going to continue our lesson on the distribution of profit and treatment of loss in a Mudhrabah contract. Of course, even though Mudhrabah is a silent investment or partnership contract, both parties entering this contract has the same objective of reaping profit or gaining profit through this investment or through this type of partnership. So even though everyone wants to get profit, and we cannot avoid or we cannot deny the possibility of having loss. So how do you determine the profit and the loss incurred through this partnership? It must be determined earlier on in the beginning of the contract. So first of all, how do you determine the ratio of the profit, and who gets how much? How much does the sahibul mal or the investor gets, and how much does the mudharib or the entrepreneur gets? And can we divide it equally, 50-50%, or can we use other types of ratio? So whatever the ratio is, even though we know in a mudharabah contract only the sahibul mal is the one who's providing the money or the capital, and the mudharib, he does not provide any money, and he only provides his labor and expertise. The ratio for the profit is totally up to the agreement of both parties. It does not necessarily means that um, you know it must be treated as 50-50%. And if they agreed to a slightly different amount, say 60 or 40, 60-40, 70-30, or 80-20%, and uh, that is totally up to them. And what we want is just mutual consent and mutual agreement from both parties. So, and the thing is, it must be clearly declared and in the beginning of the contract. Say if you decide to get 50-50% between sahibul mal and mudarib, and both parties agrees to it, so let it be. Okay, and then the profit, it cannot be in the fixed return, cannot be in fixed return, and or in specified amount, saying that at the end of this tenure I would like to get 50k profit, and the sahibul mal demands that, or the mudarib, you get 50k and I also get 50k. That is not allowed. Why? Because of course this is an investment. There's risk to it. You cannot determine, or you cannot tell earlier on how much profit you will make, and perhaps you make loss. And even though you make profit, you cannot really tell how much profit you are making. But if you promise earlier on in terms of a fixed number, say 50k, 100k, 20k, or 10k, that would be, again, like I said previously, tantamount to riba. As if I'm giving you this capital of 100k, and I demand at the end of the tenure of this contract, you give me another 50k, or you give me another 100k. Whereas this is an investment, and it's open to any possibility of having losses and whatnot. So you cannot promise any return or any profit in terms of fixed amount. But in terms of ratio, in terms of percentage, that is allowed. And the profit, it can take place after the loss is written off and the capital of the sahibul mal is fully restored. First of all, in this type of partnership, and we need to treat the loss first. And if there's any loss, okay, cover that first. And that is used. And if there's any profit, for, like, say, you've done this business for 2 years, like 2018 and 2019. In 2018, the company does not reap any profit, yet it gain losses, kan? So in 2019, however, alhamdulillah, the company gain profit. And so the profit in 2019 should be used to offset the losses made in 2018. And then afterwards, and it's used to restore the sahibul mal capital. And after that, if there's any balance, then that is considered as the profit. So you can use this profit to, to be divided lah between both parties. Right? And the profit, and there's a slight mistake in the slide, and it can be distributed at the end of the mudharabah contract. Say this mudharabah contract is for 5 years, and you can divide it and you can distribute the profit at the end of the 5 years contract at one stroke, or you can do it periodically. Periodically meaning, every year, say, and or if you want, but if this is a 1 year contract, say kan, so you do it periodically, quarterly. And so this is the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter profit. Or if you don't want it to do it like that, you can always distribute it at one stroke at the end of the contract. Either it means at the end of the year or at the end of the whole contract. So it's totally up to both parties lah to decide. And if the profit comes after period of loss, it can be used as an offset lah, like I say. And if you incur losses and then afterwards you incur profit, the profit should be used to offset the loss. And then afterwards to restore the capital of the sahibul mal. If there's any balance, then it should be divided among both parties. Okay, that is the distribution of profit. How about loss? And this is something, like I said previously, something that you cannot avoid, and this is the risk of conducting any type of business and investment. Again, financial loss, and is solely borne by sahibul mal because he's the one who will provide all the money. And the mudharib does not bore any loss. Of course, he bears the losses, but not in terms of financial, because that is not the one that he provides, and his losses are in the terms of labor, time, knowledge, expertise, or all is wasted lah. And okay, any condition that makes mudharib liable for loss is considered as void. You cannot put in the agreement, in the terms and condition, stating that the mudharib will be liable for any financial loss, unless that financial loss is proven to be the result of the mudharib's negligence or mismanagement. And that is the only clause you can include. But you cannot, upfront say that you must bear all the financial loss, the mudharib, and that is invalid or void. Mudharib will be only liable for all the losses if it's proven that it is due to his mistreatment or mismanagement of the company or of the capital. Okay, now moving on to types of mudharabah. Okay, we have two types of mudharabah. We have restricted and unrestricted. Restricted, like the word suggests, is something that is restricted, and maksudnya dia terhad. And a mudharib choices concerning trading parties, place, type of businesses, and properties are determined. Mudharib is not allowed to violate the conditions, or else he will be held liable. Meaning, this is a restricted contract. If you enter a restricted mudharabah contract, and the sahibul mal reserves the right to determine what type of business to enter, where, how to conduct it, the type of properties, everything involved. And the mudharib, as the one who conducts the business, the entrepreneur who receives the capital, he is not allowed to violate the condition. He must follow the conditions stated by the sahibul mal, because he's the one who's providing all the money and all the modal dan sebagainya. So if he violates all these conditions, say the sahibul mal says that this mudharabah, I'm giving you this capital 100k to operate this business, but I want to only do business in F&B, say food and beverages, kan, because somehow the sahibul mal believes that we can make a lot of money in F&B. And only here in Shah Alam. I do not want you to operate our business outside of Shah Alam. And strictly only in Shah Alam and only in F&B. Whatever it is, as long as it's in F&B. And so the mudarib must follow. If, however, the mudarib fail to follow this condition and the business results in losses, he will be held liable. Again, because why? Because this is a restricted mudharabah and it's agreed upfront in earlier on in the contract. And if you agree to this condition, so you must follow. And or else, do not commit yourself in this type of contract and enter another type of contract which we call as the unrestricted mudharabah contract. Unrestricted maksudnya tidak terhad, open. This is a more flexible mudharabah contract, and where the sahibul mal leaves the venture to be managed by mudarib completely. I'm just giving you all this money, 100k. I believe in you. What you feel necessary and what you feel is profitable, you can just do business in any types of business. Say you want to do F&B, or you want to do um, garments and clothing and whatnot, and tudung ke apa ke. So the sahibul mal gives complete autonomy to the mudarib. So the mudarib does not has to follow any strict conditions by the sahibul mal. He has all this liberty to determine the type of business as long as it's profitable for both of them, and provided that he does not abuse or violate the autonomy given to him by the sahibul mal. Okay, how about the personal expenses of the mudarib? The mudarib is the entrepreneur, the one who does the business. Okay? Of course, he will, along the way, while conducting the business, perhaps there are certain personal expenses of the mudarib. And while conducting business, ada makan minum. And mudarib makan juga. Mudarib perhaps he travels everywhere. And if this is a business travel, then of course it's related to the business, and you can charge it to the business. But how about I'm going holiday back to my hometown and things like that? So these are considered as personal expenses of the mudarib. So how do we treat it? So mudarib cannot charge a personal expenses to the mudharabah fund. And I'm taking this flight ticket to my hometown, and I'm using this capital from my mudharabah contract. So that is not allowed. And keluarga saya nak makan, nak buat parti kenduri dan sebagainya, I'm using this capital given by the sahibul mal. Again, that is not allowed. Mudarib are only entitled to the share of profit bila dia nak dapat hak dia. And the capital is totally 100% solely for the business, not for his personal expenses. He is only entitled to the profit at the end of the tenure. If the company or if the business gain profit. And but again, like I say, you can choose and whether you wanna distribute or disperse the profit periodically or at one stroke at the end of the mudharabah contract. Boleh je nak bagi kuarter pertama. So maksudnya 3 bulan pertama tu kalau dapat profit, and so that is both parties are entitled to the profit. Mudharib dapat profit, plus the sahibul mal also gets the profit. And expenses related to the mudharabah business, like I said previously, can be charged to the mudharabah fund. Profit, or if there is no profit, then capital. Okay, business travel, all this rental, machinery rental, premise rental and whatnot. Everything, if it's related to the business, it can be charged to the mudharabah fund. And how do you charge it? First, of course, you use the profit, not the capital. Use the profit to the capital remains as the capital lah. Capital kita buat apa? Capital kan kita buat ni kan. Benda-benda, you learn account kan. First we use the profit to offset it. If the profit is not enough, of course you can use the capital to to fund all these expenses. And expenses related to the mudharabah business can be charged only to a situation where mudharabah is a trip basis. And some mudharabah is a one trip basis tau. Ni macam satu business business yang one off. Orang ni bagi this sahibul mal gives you this capital of 50k and I'm the mudharabah. So it's a one-off business, one-off, one trip. So I use this money for one business, a precise business, and it's a one go and one off. Saya pergi Amerika buat apa-apa saya. So everything related to that business, of course, you can use the capital to fund it. And balik dah habis, the one off. Ada juga jenis mudharabah yang macam tu. Balik kan using this 50k. Saya gunalah 50k ni for my flight, for my expenses related to the business dan sebagainya, hotel dan sebagainya. Saya guna lepas tu adalah saya beli barang dan sebagainya. Alhamdulillah berjaya balik semua. Maksudnya bawa balik profit clean 100k. 100k. So 100k tu tolaklah dulu 50k kan, dah offset all the costs yang incurred, dapatlah kan, katalah 40k ke kan, 50k lah, dapat 50k profit kan. Yang itu balik 50k, lepas tu they divide it to kan 50k kan, orang ni dapat 25, the other person gets 25 kan. Again macam saya cakap profit tu lepas apa? Lepas kita dah tolak apa semua ni kan. Katalah dapat 100k. Tolak dulu berapa? Bagi dulu sahibul mal dia punya capital 50k. Lepas tu dapat lagi 50k. 50k tu baru divide dua. Katalah they agreed to 50% punya arrangement. So the sahibul mal gets another 25k and the mudharib gets another 25k. Contoh macam tu. Okay. What the mudharib cannot do? A mudharib cannot use the capital to act as sahibul mal in another mudharabah contract. Say the sahibul mal gives him this capital 100k, and then he uses this capital 100k to become another sahibul mal in another mudharabah contract. And dia guna pula duit orang ni, pergi sana pula. Tak boleh, that is not allowed. And the mudharib cannot use the capital to enter into a partnership contract. Again, you are using other people's punya capital. You should be using this capital to conduct business, kan? Nanti kalau ada untung, we share it together. Tapi, kamu guna ni pula untuk nak masuk musyarakah kontrak pula dengan orang lain. Again, that's not allowed. And the mudhari also should not purchase goods on deferred basis. Maksudnya bertanggung. Ni bukan DI, this is DE. Contohnya dia guna duit itu kan 50k or 100k untuk beli barang secara ansuran. That is not related to the business. That is not allowed. And he's also not allowed to incur debts in the name of mudharabah for purpose of mudharabah contract. Enter into any types of debts that is not related to the contract, and that is not related to the contract. He is not allowed to do that. Ataupun menyebabkan bisnes tersebut terpaksa berhutang. Menyebabkan bisnes tersebut terpaksa berhutang atas sebab mudharabah dan sebagainya. You need to understand that we have this capital, we have this modal, kan? And we should be using this capital to conduct this business. And if in any way if it's not allowed, then tak payahlah buat lebih-lebih. Contohnya bisnes 50k boleh buat, boleh hasilkan produk banyak ni aja. And you want to produce more. When you produce more, then your capital is not enough. So you get loan from someone else, kan? So menyebabkan perusahaan itu ataupun bisnes tersebut terpaksa mengalami berhutang lah. So that is not allowed. Meaning you do business within your means lah. Cukup dengan capital tersebut. Tak, jangan sampai menyebabkan bisnes tersebut terpaksa berhutang yang unnecessary. And itu tidak boleh. Mudharib tidak boleh buat begitu. And also the mudharib cannot commit in the business that greater than the capital provided. This is like the one I said. And dah bagi 50k, 50k. Dan jangan buat bisnes yang lebih besar, yang memerlukan modal lebih besar, yang kamu tahu tak cukup. Sedangkan sahibul mal bagi banyak tu je. And so, you cannot do that. And macam kita lah, kita we spend within our means kan. Kita berbelanja dalam kita punya kemampuan. Sama lah juga kita buat bisnes. Kita buat bisnes within the capital punya capacity. And sebab mudharib ada responsibility terhadap sahibul mal. Sahibul mal bagi banyak tu lah you buat kan. You cannot buat lebih besar. Kalau tak, pergi masuk agreement lain ataupun kontrak lain. And when is a mudharabah considered as void? And when is this mudharabah contract considered as void? If the sahibul mal gives a goods not capital, meaning again like I say, the capital must be in terms of cash money. Cash money, tak boleh dalam bentuk barang. Kalau dia tak bagi bentuk barang, dia kata I have this kain banyak kan, satu gudang, nilai kain-kain ni semua bernilai 100k, so saya bagi kain-kain ini sebagai modal. Tak boleh. Even though you say that the total amount and nilai and this kain it's worth 100k, but it's not cash money. Dan tak boleh, dia akan menyusahkanlah perusahaan tersebut. Macam mana kita, bukan senang kita nak gunakan kain tu kan, nak buat bisnes kan, dia akan jadi terhad dan sebagainya. So we only accept capital in terms of cash money. And if the profit is guaranteed, and this is like I said previously, dia macam riba lah kan. Saya bagi capital 100k, awak bagi saya profit 100k juga. Cannot guarantee that. Nothing is guaranteed if you are doing business, and it's open to a lots of risks and possibilities. And if the mudharabah contract is concluded for a fixed period, such as 1 year, except for Hanafi and Hanbali. Some mudharabah contract and they have fixed period. For the Hanafis and Hanbalis mazhab, they accept this. If you are, fixing the period of the mudharabah for 1 year, but other mazhab they do not accept it. Meaning you cannot, put a fixed period in 1 year. You cannot. You need to leave it a little bit open and flexible. And except for the Hanafis and Hanbalis, of course, and they have their own reasons why they put this type of condition. And if the sahibul mal stipulates that he would jointly manage the business, this is not considered as a mudharabah. Sahibul mal must remain as an investor, meaning he cannot be involved in the business. If he says I'm going to be involved in this business, that is, so this will no longer be a mudharabah contract. It will be a musyarakah contract. Betul tak? But of course, musyarakah contract, all parties must provide capital. In this case, the mudharib does not provide any capital. So macam mana kan? So dah jadi tak boleh. Tak boleh lah. Sahibul mal memang tak boleh conduct the business. Only the mudharib. Kalau dia nak conduct pun nanti dah jadi terbalik kod kan. Sebab mudharib dia tak bagi duit kan, dia tak ada duit dan sebagainya. Okay, if a sahibul mal stipulates that the mudharib should consult him for all the transaction, this is also not accepted. Meaning you should give a full autonomy, liberty to the mudharib to conduct the business. Of course, upfront you can put your conditions kan, boleh letak syarat-syarat. Tapi lepas tu leave it all to the mudharib to decide about the business because it's his role. Kalau kita if you put this type of condition that all transaction must have my approval, itu maksudnya you dah nak campur tangan lah. It's tantamount to a kind of interference in the business management. So tak boleh. Sahibul mal macam kita cakap, dia sahibul mal, capital provider, investor saja. Dia bukan entrepreneur. And dia boleh letakkan syarat dia, condition, but that is upfront. After that, you must leave it 100% for the mudharib to decide what is best for the business. If a sahibul mal appoints a supervisor over the mudharib, this is also not valid. And kita dah lantik mudharib sebagai investor, dia investor lah. On top of it, there's another supervisor pula. Tak boleh. Again, it seems like you are trying to interfere in the conduct of the business. So it's not accepted. And so all of this would render the mudharabah contract as void. Okay, when is the mudharabah contract terminated? And how is it terminated? When it is cancelled, when both parties agrees to cancel it. And when mudharib is prevented from using the fund. And dia tak boleh guna fund tersebut. Ataupun he is being dismissed. Dia dibuang. Saya buang awak daripada kontrak ini. So, habislah. And kalau dia dah terminated dan dia sendiri tak dapat nak guna pun capital tersebut, macam mana nak buat bisnes kan? So, baik kita terminate je lah mudharabah kontrak ini. The maturity period is done. Ni again for Hanbalis and Hanafi. Sebab pada mereka ada apa orang kata, ada period kan? Ada exact period. Kalau for mazhab yang Syafi'i dan Maliki, there's no time period. Either parties loses his legal capacity. Ni kita dah belajar legal capacity, maksudnya jadi gila ke, and hilang ingatan ke suddenly kan. So either party and jadi hilang legal capacity, maka kita terpaksa terminate mudharabah contract ini. When the condition is in restricted mudharabah is breached, and this is like I said earlier, if the sahibul mal say that you have to do business in F&B and suddenly you breach the condition, you do business in other fields and oil and gas ke apa kan, so the mudharabah contract is terminated. And when mudharib fails in his duties, mudharib tak dapat nak buat kerja dia, and dia cakap dia nak buat kerja full time lah, dia sepatutnya entrepreneur, suddenly dia tak mampu buat benda tersebut. Katalah rupanya dia ni adalah orang yang makan gaji, kerja lain pula rupanya. So dia gagal buat kerja dia dengan sempurna. So we need to terminate this contract. Or the capital is destroyed, lost in the hand of mudharabah, in the mudharib. Maksudnya, of course, the capital is used to fund the business, but at the end of the day, kita dah buat kan, we've tried our best, suddenly habis semua capital. And kena struck dengan tsunami ke, banjir besar ke, a fire that destroyed all the capital. Something that, this is not intended lah, bukan dibuat dengan niat dan tidak sengaja, and maka, ataupun hilang. And bila hilang dan sebagainya, of course the mudharib must be liable, tapi mudharabah contract tersebut terminated lah. And then death of parties, and anyone, either the sahibul mal or the mudharib, meninggal dunia, maka tamatlah and terminated lah mudharabah contract tersebut.